Several years ago, Jordan Peterson, the darling of the intellectual dark web, and Matt Dillahunty, atheist debater extraordinaire and former Christian snake handler, got together for a spectacular little debate. We learned, among other things, that there are no atheist artists or poets, only artists and poets who think they're atheists.
Are there no godless artists and poets?
Well, there are artists and poets who think they're godless.
We also learned that there are no moral atheists, only moral actors who think they're atheists.
I'm telling you I don't believe there's a God. And your response to that is, I really do, because I have a moral sense. But my moral sense is utterly without any appeal to a God.
Explicitly.
Or implicitly.
Maybe.
Indeed, Jordan Peterson's recent career is nothing but one big appeal to the no true Scotsman fallacy. If you tell Dr. Peterson that you're an atheist who believes or does X, generally something positive, he'll tell you that you're doing that only because of the underlying fabric of religiosity, which he deems foundational to our culture, even though our culture here in the States and elsewhere in the West is clearly not based on any religion, but rather the values of the Enlightenment and secular liberal democracy. We also learned that Peterson seems to think that we can confirm the supernatural using psychedelic drugs.
Science can't confirm the supernatural. I mean, we are blocked until somebody demonstrates a mechanism by which we can explore and confirm the existence of the supernatural and then confirm that it actually can impact the natural world. We're stuck, which is why science relies on methodological naturalism.
You seem to be able to do it with psychedelic drugs.
My hope here is that Peterson will get Christians all over the country to take psychedelics, because the handful of peer-reviewed studies which have been published suggest that they can make people more open-minded and generous, more creative, and perhaps even help people with depression and addiction. More study is needed, of course. The big headline for many of us on my side of the pearly gates was Jordan Peterson's response to this question.
What, in your view, would a genuine atheist be like?
He'd be like Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment. There is every rational reason to split this woman's skull with an axe. Look at all the good I would do. Look at all the well-being I would enhance. And so he does it. And then all hell breaks loose. And what Dostoevsky was Raskolnikov built himself up to the murder in part by laying out the rational case, but also by saying, well, there's no God. There's no metaphysical reason that's stopping me from committing this act. And there's all these reasons that appear perfectly rational, pushing me in that direction. Perhaps I'm nothing but a moral coward for failing to undertake it. So he does.
So a genuine atheist is a murderer, someone who murders for absolutely rational reasons, which is why convicted murderers in our prison systems are overwhelmingly atheist. Wait, that's not true. Well, that's a problem. But not for Peterson, of course. He'll just say that convicted murderers aren't overwhelmingly atheists because atheists aren't even atheists or Scotsmen. Problem solved, right? I think. Well, Peterson's thinking is so convoluted and Chopra-esque that I can't make heads or tails of it, and I'm not sure he can either. Aside from the obvious bigotry, Peterson makes it clear that no one should consider him an intellectual, either publicly or in private. When your go-to debate strategy is simply redefining counterexamples out of existence, you're not an intellectual. You're a 5-year-old, eyes closed, fingers in your ears, screaming to high hitchins so that you can't hear what you don't want to hear. Of course, there is no tactic more warmly embraced by the right than denialism, so Peterson is in good company. I don't actually have a problem with Peterson's thinking on this point so long as he's prepared to admit the obvious. What would a genuine Christian look like, Jordan? Well, that's easy. Joshua, a genocidal maniac who followed the directions of his God and left nothing alive that breathed in the land of Canaan. God wanted them utterly destroyed, with the exception of the virgin girls who could then be forced into marriage and raped by the men who murdered their families. It's a sweet story. But that's an Old Testament example, so maybe Torquemada and those who embrace the Inquisition. I mean, if you want to be purely rational from a Christian perspective, a heretic who influences the thinking of your children can send them to hell for all eternity. Best to purge the world of such evildoers, right? But let's give them the chance to reject their heretical ways first. And what better way to do that than by torturing them until they renounce their demonic ideas, saving their souls as well before they're murdered. Hashtag happy ending. Or maybe a genuine Christian looks like God, who committed genocide with a great flood because, as Dennis Prager has pointed out, God failed to give humans the necessary moral instructions to make a good world, which is why God gave himself a do-over. He is so generous with himself sometimes. If Peterson is willing to see the flip side of his thinking and embrace it, he might finally see the near infinite preferability of atheism. Of course, he's going to have to open his eyes, pull his fingers out of his ears, and stop screaming such utter nonsense. Until next time, I'm me. Thanks for watching.